Hey, before I get started, boy, how do I follow that? I mean, I just want to take a second and acknowledge this whole event, the hope and the strength and the courage and the joy that's come across this stage. I'm just honored as heck to be here, and I have to say WWBIC is one of the most impressive organizations I've ever come in contact with. And I hope that'll mean a little more as I show you some stuff in my travels. I have to do some housekeeping here up at the podium. My computer that has a bunch of photographs that I'm going to share with you has, as people have been coming up here, the computer has gotten buried in the back of the podium. There it is. All right. So we can, all right. And everybody hear me okay? Is my mic on? We good? All right. And, I got to put my password in. Everybody close your eyes. All right. And there we are. Okay. If we can get the images up on the screen, that'll be awesome. Now, the reason I'm here is I'm the author of a book that you might have seen out there, you might have heard of, called The International Bank of Bob. I am not a banker. I'm not a wealthy guy. Working class. My dad worked at General Motors for 37 years in a plant. My mom worked in a Newberry's, a five and dime that I don't think doesn't even exist anymore. But I lucked into the opportunity to meet clients who had their businesses microfinanced all over the world. In Kenya, in Nicaragua, let's see, that's Rwanda, Bosnia, Philippines, Peru, Lebanon, on and on and on. And this all happened, I mean, the whole question of today is, can one person make a difference? I don't claim that I have. I really don't. I just put some money in and then people changed their own lives. They did their own work. I just greased the wheels a little with a tiny bit of money here and there. That's it. But I want to show you the differences that people are making all over the world and kind of where WWBIC fits into this large microfinance movement that's happening all over the planet that's frankly incredible and super cool. And the way I fell into it, and I really did fall into it, is I've had a bunch of different jobs over my life, one of which was I lucked into a job as a luxury travel writer for a while, which was a good gig. My job was to go to really fancy hotels and get paid to write articles saying, yes, the beds are nice. That was my job. I wrote articles like Europe's 50 best hotels. And, you know, that was a neat gig. That was really fun. And my father worked 37 years in that plant so that I might have a better life somehow. I think Dad did good. I honestly do. So I'm going around the planet. I'm getting to see, you know, all the stuff that we think of as being I slept in castles and, you know, saw Iguazu Falls in Brazil and kissed the Blarney Stone and walked the Great Wall of China and hiked to Machu Picchu. And this is the actual Casbah in northern Africa. And yes, I did rock it. It was really cool. It's kids playing soccer on the beach. It's really awesome if you get the opportunity. So I'm having the time of my life doing this. The countries in red are the ones I visited. As you can see, I suck at Africa. I don't have Africa down to a science yet, but I've seen some of the planet anyway. And in the process of doing this, I got to tell you, humankind just gets really cool while you're traveling because we seem to have these differences, but pretty soon it just turns into this grand pageant as we bang on our bangers and we strum on our strummers and we hoot on our hooters and we ride on our fun little devices all over the world and we cheer for our sports teams, whatever weird simulated combat that we decide that we want to dive into. And it's one giant human family, and that gets more and more obvious as you're traveling. Whatever game we do, whatever dances, rituals we may have, they have different cosmetic meanings, but it's all basically the same stuff. And pretty soon you just start seeing that there's like, human society is integrating into one giant culture. This is Argentine tango in South Korea, and this is Scottish bagpipes in Egypt, and New Orleans jazz being played on the streets of St. Petersburg, Russia. These are goth kids in Santiago, Chile. It's the coolest thing. This is in Vienna about 3 weeks ago. This is the square where Adolf Hitler gave a speech celebrating the annexation of Austria into the Nazi Empire. And that's a bunch of Chinese senior citizens doing Tai Chi in that very spot. Hitler did not see that coming. The world is working itself out right before our eyes and at light speed. And just this morning, I got to show like how rapidly the world is interconnecting. One of the most dangerous parts of the world, the Eastern Congo, one of the few places I will not visit. The Eastern Congo is an area where more people die every day in the aftermath of its wars than in all of the hot wars everywhere in the entire world, and most of us never even hear about it. And today, one of the major insurgencies, M23, laid down their rifles. And we found out because they announced it on their Facebook page. That's how interconnected we are. I did not see that coming. And I got to tell you, as I've gone around the world, every single place I've gone, and whatever else I may have to say to you, see on the news a very scary planet, but every place I've gone, I've been welcomed like an old friend. And maybe the most important thing I can tell you is you would have too. This is Egypt while we were bombing Iraq. And everyone was saying the Middle East is a dangerous place. And as you can see, I was immediately surrounded. It is a friendly planet. And this is what you get out of the media. Fresh wave of terror feared. Well, yes, it's terror. You will fear a giant wave of that, yes. But at the end of the day, we finish our labor, we put our arm around someone we love, we take good care of our children. And if we just see each other as people who are just trying to make better lives for our kids, which is what everyone in the entire world is, with very rare exception, we very rapidly turn into a human family. And I'm not thinking about this while I'm staying in the Emirates Palace. I'm in Dubai, and I'm getting paid to stay in a $3 billion hotel. And by the way, that's not the Emirates Palace, that's the entrance gate. The actual Emirates Palace is best seen from space. The entrance gate is that small building on the lower right. If you see that teeny little building down there, they have a mile of private beach. It's a ridiculous place. And meanwhile, who builds this stuff? If you know the economy of the Middle East, it's guys making $6 a day from East Africa, from South Asia. And my dad worked 37 years for General Motors. And I started going out the front door of these hotels, and I'm trying to figure out how to just work out the difference between rich and poor, and what can one person possibly do? And I was just feeling overwhelmed. I just like, what do I do? And the reason this guy is doing this job, by the way, where he's from, he'd probably make $1 a day, $2 a day, $3 a day maybe. Now, working $6 a day, he can save a little money, and even though he won't get home for years, he can wire it home, and his kids can have a better life. So the men working to build these buildings are doing the same work my father did for the exact same reasons. And how can I just walk down the street and pocket the money? And I just didn't know how I would do that. So what do? So I wanted to put my money in something that would be good. And it just gnawed at me everywhere I went. I would just see more want in the world. And finally, I'm in the back of a Bentley limousine in Singapore looking at day laborers through the window. And I've had enough. I don't know what I'm going to do. So I promised I cleared about 20 grand was all the income I made from all of the luxury travel. And that was more than half of my income for the year. I'm not a money guy. So I'm going to take that 20 grand, I'm going to do something with it. I don't know what. And there's a website called Kiva where anybody can invest in micro loans all over the world. So I decided that I would take that 20 grand and I would invest it in people with their businesses all over the world and maybe try to help a little bit from the ground up. After all, that guy that you saw in Dubai wouldn't have had that job if the local economy had been stronger where he was from. You know, so if you help the villages, then people don't wind up in that situation. But that's a real sign, by the way. That's coming out of Gatwick Airport in London as you leave the rental car desk. And sure enough, the guy in the black car pulled over and started spending more time with his family. So, right there. Anyway, so now I want to just show you some of the clients that I met, just a handful, as I got to travel to tons of places. And just tell you a little bit about what I learned, and because it all plays into exactly what WWBIC does here in Milwaukee. It's all the same stuff. This beautiful woman is named Nari. And now, I'm not going to tell you, right? You can't tell where she is in the world, right? You just see, look at her face. You know her right now. I mean, you have a sense of who this human being is. If she steps in next to you into the elevator, your day gets better, right? Now, she's really smart. She's like hardworking. She could do anything. She didn't win the birth lottery. So she's in Cambodia, and that tin behind her is her house. She works several jobs. The main one is a microfinanced little kiosk where she sells stuff at the side of the road to people going to work. It's pretty much the same stuff that you'd get in the gas station, if you're picking up sundries there. And it's a small little business, but she's got 2 of them, and her husband's got 2 of them. It's all microfinanced, and as a result, they're saving and they're building, and eventually they're going to be able to afford to have a family. So simply having a family is being made possible by just the presence of finance for what this woman's willing to do, the amount of work she's doing. This is in Bosnia, which, as you may know, this is a woman named Zorka who was incredibly like my mom, by which I mean guilt. Within like 5 seconds, she wanted to know if I'd called my own mom and how long it had been. She's an adorable woman. She was actually one of the very first people I went to, and I was sitting on her front porch. And everybody I met when I first got to Bosnia were all Bosnian Muslims around Sarajevo. really sweet, wonderful people, had a wonderful time with them. And so I'd gotten used to everybody being Muslim. Now, if you're familiar with the wars in Bosnia, it was not that long ago that Bosnian Muslims, Eastern Orthodox Serbs, Croatian Catholics were killing each other, massacres. There was, genocide. There was terrible things happened. In living memory of everybody sitting on that porch, the people from the microfinance institution, Zorka, her family, the translator, everybody knows this. Everybody knows this history. And we're all sitting around. And I ask a question. Zorka is involved in, she has a pork wholesaling thing. She buys pork in quantity and sells it. And I presumed that she was a Muslim because the pork thing didn't go right in. And so in my questioning, everybody else I bet had been a Muslim. And she turns out she's a Catholic Croatian. And my translator explained to me, no, she's not a Muslim. Oh, but you're all getting along so well. Well, yeah, they see each other as business partners. They see each other as people building a community together. And so even in a place where people have literally been killing each other, microfinance has this neat little effect of, it's not solving everything, but it is helping people knit together a community. Microfinance actually can build communities. Because as soon as you start seeing, somebody in Bosnia told me, money has no religion. And I thought that was really cynical when I first heard it. But I started to understand, no, what they meant was we start seeing each other as equals and partners, and people were working together, and you have a greater sense of community. This is in Kenya. That cow is microfinanced. If you were a cab driver and you needed to finance a cab, you'd get a car loan, right? Well, in East Africa, they're microfinancing, they're basically asset financing livestock. They bring in a kind of cow that produces more milk than the average African cow. And after the first year, selling the extra milk, the loan is paid off. The farmer owns the cow free and clear and produces extra milk for the rest of the cow's life. And that money can be used to educate the kids, build the house, continue to grow things however they want to. And this is actually building genuine wealth. People get one cow, hey, this works. They get two cows, they get a shed, they get more cows. It's great. And so that's a wonderful guy named Simon, his wife Jen, showing me their cow Grace, who did not hold still for very long. So it's building economies when you get to Kenya. This is in Rwanda, which was the site of, I think, one of the worst things that ever happened in human history. If you're not familiar, about 20 years ago, Rwanda had just an insanely brutal genocide. At least 800,000 people were killed, mostly with machetes, in a country with a population about the size of New Jersey. And now it's 20 years later, people are rebuilding. And this lovely woman, who I call Jacqueline in the book, those are her 3 children. Her husband's not around anymore. And so she, as a single mom with 3 children, about a year and a half before this photo was taken, was living in essentially a shack. Unpowered, unsecure. If it rained, they got wet. And she's raising 3 kids, and she's got not a lot of education and no real skills. But the local microfinance institution was willing to take a chance on her. And what some of her neighbors did was they taught her how to go to a market at some distance, hike over there, buy basic commodities in bulk, potatoes and rice and other grains, buy them up in bulk, bring them and sell them in smaller quantities at profit, which is essentially the 7-Eleven business model. And so she sort of set up the neighborhood convenience store in her neighborhood. And by the way, what do convenience stores sell? They sell convenience. I mean, we pay 3 times what that loaf of bread is worth because it's worth our time because we have more productive things to do. You bring a store like that into a neighborhood, it actually makes everyone else, it gives them the opportunity to allocate their time more effectively. It's actually pretty important. And so a year and a half later, that nice building behind her is her home, and that front room is used as her store, and you can see some of the cooking oil and some of the other produce back there. And her 3 kids, you see, the 2 of them in front, are smiling. They're gonna go to school soon. The back room is a nice, dry, warm place where they can sleep safely at night. This woman, and now as you look at her, I bet you're not seeing an African or a Rwandan, or you're just seeing a mom, someone trying to make their kids' lives better. And thanks simply to the presence of microfinance, she is. And that's happening everywhere in this world. And by the way, the company, the microfinance institution that took a chance on her, that gave her the loan, and kids all over Rwanda are benefiting from it. There's these big banks all over Rwanda that are coming in, and man, I would be intimidated to walk into that bank, right? That is a big international scary bank. And then there's the kind of the local bank, or Wago Opportunity, and you can walk in there, And the first thing they do is they put you through 3 months of education, and not just in how to work your business, but they give health education. They give all sorts of education, like HIV prevention, everything that's needed. And microlenders all over the world, not all of them, but a large number of them, provide all sorts of other support services. They're there to help the businesses grow all the way along. And so when I'm hearing these stories up here on the stage all day, I'm sitting here, and it's stories that I've heard replicated all over the world. WWBIC is part of an amazing thing. And anybody here who's thinking you might want to add a zero, do it. Do it. Anyway, so kids like this and kids all over the world get a better chance. So in just meeting these few clients, we've seen microfinance building new business, building community, helping to grow local economies, creating jobs, incentivizing business education. People are growing. It makes the effect sustainable because they stay with them. The businesses stay in business. And then that has generational effects that go on and on and on. Now, I don't think I actually did anything here. I just went around and watched other people doing stuff. But for me, the question of can one person change the world has a clear answer, yes. For those who aren't familiar, this is Muhammad Yunus. He's the Nobel Peace Prize winner who founded the Grameen Bank in Bangladesh and was one of the pioneers of getting this whole notion started. But if you want to change the world, it's not just like famous people who do this sorts of thing. You know, there's people out there changing the world every single day. You just look around and we're all doing it. It's a question of how we change it and what we decide to change it to. The last thing I want to share with you is something I heard in Lebanon, which was not a place I figured I would learn something important. Like, I was scared to go. I didn't know that I would have my heart touched the way that it was there. I want to share with you before I leave the stage the 5 most important words I ever heard in my entire life. If you don't get a chance to read my book, this is what the book is about, really. The details of microfinance are going to change. Everywhere in the world all the time, technology changes. The details of how we live our lives change. But the 5 words I'm about to share with you, the most important thing I ever have to share with anybody. I'm in Lebanon. I meet a guy who had his life blown up. He's not a political guy. He couldn't care less. He had a restaurant for 18 years, would serve anybody who came into his place. He didn't care if you were Sunni, Shiite, a Westerner, anybody who came in, he didn't care. He'd serve you. He was fine. And then Hezbollah launches a couple rockets into Israel in 2006. Israel launches a couple rockets back. One of them hits his restaurant. His life was blown up. He lost everything. His family was okay, thank God. I asked him if he was angry. Now, I'm walking around the world and I'm seeing people who've gone through things that would break my soul. And I just had to ask, are you angry? How do you deal with this? And he looked at me like I was a child. And he struggled a little bit because he didn't have good English, so he had to speak very plainly. And he said to me, as long as I have my God, I don't worry for something like this. Then he stumbles for the words and he says, you love more, you win. You don't stop, thanks for God. You love more, you win. And then I saw him struggle a little bit. And this wasn't some aphorism that he learned in some Berkeley philosophy class. This wasn't something that, this guy had his house blown up. And this was a choice he was making every single day. And so when we support microfinance, when we put our resources, we put our hearts into this, when you love more, you win. And thanks for coming. I appreciate it. That's all I got.
I'm sure that I speak for everyone here in thanking Bob very much for your message of inspiration and the power of one in making a positive difference in a proactive way. If you didn't get a chance prior to this luncheon program, I really encourage you to visit our clients' booths and also to stop by and meet Bob and purchase a copy of his book, The International Bank of Bob. A portion of the sales from today will go back to WWBIC to continue to add a zero.
And now we have reached the conclusion of today's luncheon. We truly enjoyed having the opportunity to spend time with all of you today, and thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again next year as WWBIC continues putting more dreams to work throughout Wisconsin. Thank you.